Welcome back, Intro to Drawing. For those of you who got stuck last time on drawing the object that was supposed to be 4 units tall with a 2x2 base, I'm going to demonstrate that, and I'm also going to show you how to draw something directly in front of the vanishing point, which, as I said last time, is a little tricky. So we're going to start out just by marking a 2x2 footprint. Some of you are still slightly confused about the fact that that's just a matter of counting. 1, 2, 1, 2. You don't have to measure anything because we made a grid. A grid is just a ruler in the form of a two-dimensional plane. So it's already has the increments that we need. Then we're going to figure out how tall the face of this thing has to be. And as always, we're going to use a piece of scrap paper. And you can use either the scrap paper I gave you or any piece of paper. And this is the horizontal line that determines the slice that the face of this object is in. So we're going to take this and make 4 units going this way. And that's what 4 units looks like in the slice that is defined by this horizontal. So that's like the vertical plane, if you can imagine that, that comes out of that line. Lock my focus. So 4 units in this slice looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, don't be confused. This is not 4 inches because we only have inches down at the bottom of our paper where units are inches. Back here, 4 inches tall is only about 3 and a little over 3 1/4 inches. Because remember, things get, that's actually exactly 3 1/4. Things get smaller as they go further back. So we're going to finish drawing the face of this object. And if you mess this up the first time, don't worry, just go back and fix it on your last drawing, and I'll give you a better grade. And I'm going to use my triangle, and I'm going from this corner straight up to around where that mark is, straight up, and remember I cut my T-square on the left side, so that's where I'm going to keep it now. Just want to be consistent. These are not the best drafting tools, but it's what we have right now. So there's my 4x2 face. And now I go to the vanishing point. Again, I could make these lines go all the way, but that would be unnecessary because even here we're already like way back in space, much further than we need to be. And now we just have to cut it off, and that's the only tricky part when the object's in front of the vanishing point, because these corners are both hidden by the face. However, we can still see them well enough to draw them. And I'm going to go from here. And notice that I don't really need to draw this line at all. And I certainly don't need to draw it dark. I just need to find this point. This point is what I'm using that line to discover. And once I've located that point, I know I've just cut off the shape and I know where it ends. And then I can just take my T-square and zip across like that. And that's what the object looks like in front of the vanishing point. I can clean up this extra lines I don't need. Clean up the inside a little. And notice that this surface here occupies more space in our field of vision than this one because it's further down. The closer we get to eye level, the skinnier this shape would be because it gets more and more foreshortened. You should know what that means by now. Now, I've given you for the next assignment some more difficult things to draw. And one of them looks like this. And I also gave you an isometric drawing of that thing and a photograph of it. And the isometric looks like this. And the object looks like this. The isometric, if we show it to you the way you're going to see it in that image folder, on the isometric paper is to scale. In other words, you can see that this is 2, this is 6, 2, 2, and 1. That's all the information that we need to draw it anywhere we want on this one-point perspective grid. So I'm going to put that off to one side. And understand you can draw this thing in any orientation you want. I think I'm going to draw it sort of like this. So we have these parts closest to us, this part's going back. And if you're having a hard time with this stuff, you can just copy along with me on this shape and then try one or two of the other ones on your own. I'm going to show you also what happens when we put it kind of far back, because as I explain in the instructions, you have a lot more space on this grid than you probably realize, because if you put things far enough back, they're going to be really small. So the footprint of this thing is only 1 by 2. So I'm going to draw a little 1 by 2 footprint. Like that. And then I'm going to show you a little trick. We don't always have to put the ruler in the front of the object. We can make our ruler in the back and then come forward. So what I'm going to do is, working from the slice in the back of the footprint here, I'm going to create a 6-unit ruler. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. And I'm going to make it go vertical. And while I'm at it, I'm going to mark not only the top here, but I'm going to mark at 2 and at 4. And that's because I can see that that's where stuff happens on this shape, right? It's got, if I zoom out again, it's got it's 6 units tall, but it's got 2, 4, and 6. So we need to be able to find these corners. So once I've marked those heights, I can proceed to create this vertical line. And I know that the back corner is going to be hidden, but I'm going to draw the rest of the back while I'm at it. And now we need to come forward with orthogonals from these points. I hope this makes sense in a minute if it doesn't make sense yet. So I'm going to go from my vanishing point, line up with here, and go forward towards me a little bit. Doesn't have to be very long. And I'm going to go the same thing here, but a little lighter. And a little lighter from this one. Maybe that first one wasn't quite long enough. Now I'm going to go straight up from the front corner, and I go up to here, stop, and then I go from here to here. Because remember, the shape I'm drawing is like this, but it's turned towards us. Now, where is this line going to be? Well, I just look for where it starts halfway between the front and the back, which is this point right here, and slide my triangle over, and there's that one. And I can just darken that and erase those little bits. And that might be a surprising form to you, but because this is very foreshortened, but look what happens to this if we turn it towards us. You see what happens? This gets really short through here, and that's what we're seeing in the drawing. Now I just go straight up along here. I'm going to leave a gap. Just made those lines a little longer than they're going to have to be. And straight across there. And guess what? I made that line a little too short. And up to here. And up to here. If you're wondering why I'm looking at the screen and not my paper, it's because the paper is so far out in front of me that I can't really see it. I can't see the other side of this ruler. So we're getting there. What do we have left? Well, because this object is shorter than 8 inches tall, that was how tall our paper was, to the horizon line, we're going to be able to see the top of it, just a little. Remember, if we were drawing something taller than 8 inches, we wouldn't be able to see the top. And so that goes to the vanishing point. And then this goes straight across from this corner. And my t-square wasn't quite straight on that one because this really should hit a little further over to the right. That looks better. You can see this corner here should line up with this corner down here, and I indicated with that faint line. Now we go straight across from here and orthogonal from here. And then straight up from here. And that line, if we're accurate, should land right about here on where this line intersects that orthogonal down there. And it's actually hitting a little bit low because, again, my t-square is a little screwed up. So using the quarantine materials instead of my normal drafting stuff, which is definitely a liability. So there it is. I just want to remind you that if you are making a line that's not straight up or straight across with any of these drawings, it has to go here. Simple rule, these are three-dimensional objects, and we draw them using three kinds of lines. When we were doing isometric, we used lines that went straight up, lines that sloped up left, and lines that sloped up right. Three kinds. Now, the three kinds of lines we're using are vertical, horizontal, and orthogonal. Still only three kinds of lines to draw a box or any other rectilinear shape. But in this case, one of those sets goes to the vanishing point. So if you're confused and it's not going straight up and it's not going straight across, make it go to here because that's where it's going to go. So place those other three objects of your choosing wherever you want, and good luck.